warm welcome to Joy News today. Coming up, waste of time and not likely to secure a conviction. Special Prosecutor Kisia Jabeng's justification for dropping case filed by his predecessor against Boko Central MP Mahama Ayariga.
Having re-examined the docket, gone through it, we've taken this decision. So as it stands, there's no charge against Honorable Mahama Ayariga. There's no count against him.
Also, 2 persons found dead in a canoe accident on the Ofin River, leaving 3 more trapped. And Joy News investigations reveal how staff of the Ghana Revenue Authority aid businesses bidding for contracts, circumvent laid down procedures in the acquisition of tax clearance certificates. And Cardinal Peter Piafexin says some Ghanaian leaders are conniving with foreigners to loot the nation's resources without recourse to the implications of their actions.
Our leaders are preoccupied. Okay, get whatever we get at whatever cost.
These and more, including sports and entertainment news, all coming up in this hour. My name is Mama Vio Swamwadi. Stay with us. Now, Special Prosecutor Kisia Jabeng says after a careful review of the evidence gathered by his office against Boko Central MP Mahama Ayariga, he's left with no choice but to discontinue the case. A prosecution of the legislator, he explains, will amount to a waste of time as the state will not meet the evidence threshold required to secure a conviction. The NP and businessman Kendrick Marfo was slapped with charges, including using public office for private benefits by the Martin Amidu-led Office of Special Prosecutor. Earlier this year, the High Court acquitted and discharged the NP in another case filed by Mr. Amidu over the procurement of ambulances, with the court saying there was no case for the MP to answer. The special prosecutor says this case is likely to suffer the same fate should it continue.
Yeah, this morning we just entered the nolle prosequi in respect of the second case against Honorable Mahama Ayariga and Kendrick Marfo. It's simple. When I assumed office, we have further scrutinized the docket, and upon the available evidence, we deem it that the Republic will be unable to prove its case based on the standard of proof required in criminal cases, that is beyond reasonable doubt. We will not be able to do it. And secondly, it appears certain that it will suffer the same fate as the first one, which is similar to this one, which was dismissed on 7 May 2021 on an application of submission of no case to answer. It will be a complete waste of time if we were to open this case further and go to the length where it will only be dismissed on the submission of no case to answer. So having re-examined the docket, gone through it, we've taken this decision. So as it stands, there's no charge against Honorable Mahama Ayariga. There's no count against him.
Meanwhile, lawyer for the NP, Godwin Eduji Tamaklo, has welcomed the decision, saying he was not surprised by the outcome.
First of all, I need to thank the new special prosecutor for allowing reason and fairness to prevail. By the processes of discovery, the prosecution gave us the evidence they intend to rely on, including letters from Societe Generale. And in those letters, Societe Generale made it very clear that this is a car loan. It is a loan, contract, payable through deductions from the salary of the Honorable MP. And there are evidence that the bank had already started the deduction. So on this basis, it was just inconceivable to proceed with this prosecution. And so, it has not come to us as a surprise that the new special prosecutor has decided in good conscience to file a nolle prosequi. And rightly so, he indicated that the evidential standard required in a criminal trial is proof beyond reasonable doubt. And he's unable to do that with the evidence available. We are grateful to him and we are grateful to the courts for what has happened today.
If I remember correctly, this disclosure
also in addition,
yes,
the tax evasion charges
was all those matters.
The customs officers came, and I mean the customs officers' statements
were very germane.
Were clearly
very germane.
Exonerated.
So obviously, like the SP rightly pointed out, that the evidence they have in order to meet the evidential burden that's proved beyond reasonable doubt, it was going to be a huge task. And also he made a point that already the first case involving the same accused persons and others, the court acquitted and discharged them. And so he could see that these charges suffering the same challenge. And that is why, in good conscience, the new special prosecutor had decided to file or enter a nolle prosequi. We are grateful to him. We are grateful.
I just wanted to find out from Mr. Ayariga. I mean, this is evidence that clearly was in the custody of the former special prosecutor. But nonetheless,
we do not want a conversation that turns this one into him and then the previous special prosecutor.
But there's an issue clearly of a decision that was taken, the decision to prosecute him, if indeed there was evidence available that exonerated.
What is important is that a new special prosecutor has taken a decision. That decision is well grounded in law.
2 persons have been found dead in the canoe accident on the Offing River, leaving 3 more trapped after Friday's incident. 9 persons were trapped in the river when they were crossing to their farms. The district chief executive for Echima Impomwa over the weekend supported the rescue team with swimming suits and other materials.
Predominantly farmers, community members have their farms and property beyond the Offing River in the Achiase community of the Chumampunya district. Crossing the river to find their means of livelihood has been an age-long routine, but residents say the river overflowed its banks in the recent heavy rains. 9 persons got trapped in the river when the canoe they were using to cross capsized. 4 were rescued, but the 5 are yet to be found. Here is an eyewitness.
Enipa na eforo hyen no metimi aka wo na me bo baako de allo ana baako de holy ana baako de Joshua na yenuanom aka ne de me fi wo mudin ne kakara nti sabele ya gina ye ni abere kwa ye je birisi ni de keka ho atorenjam kese ato ye ni nzu ye da ho ye river Offing enipa num ye 5 de guma ya bombo de ni bia yehu no wo mu
me bani holy na kwan ya ofa so a otonjo no mimi nim ono nkwa na te achiase ha me nti ha bi me ti chanchina ase ntirinu ano papa na wo mo frɛ me sɛ me ba no wato nsuom ti me ba ye no eye no kore nso ampa ti enu a metena ha ma ne bonu nsia nti ene anopai 6 o'clock na me san ba ye enu so ma san tena ha to samre.
Several rescue teams have gone on this particular river to try and find the 5 who have been missing since yesterday. It has been a frantic effort by the team, but it's been very, very difficult. And as I speak to you, authorities are trying hard to find these people.
The color of the Offing has become yellowish. Some blame the activities of illegal miners for the fruitless rescue efforts. Meanwhile, the unit committee chair, Daniel Edu, wants authorities to honor their promise to give them bigger canoes to shuffle between their farms and homes.
You see, I could not edit Tralinsiono. MYA Cronoson. Say, Uqua Achumampono, a chance any tosomiensa, in your croquetua. And I do one so a quafo mutualinsiono, a cofum, a war, when I cocoon in a day, a war. In Tiabes Abani say, this in Abaha every day, Ababashi bosse, Obama could do me. A bit to me, Abuaye. enti ono so okọ no yemse be sa ban se omo aye na anya sa de a nsuo ni yira ehu enti aban so ye de omo aye kodo na ebetimi de atware nsuo nda bia akọ aba.
The search efforts continues. Prince Appiah reporting.
Well, Prince Appiah went back to the community and joins us on the phone with more. Prince, how far were the rescue efforts?
They have increased the number of rescue team here. The district chief executive through the NADMO have been here with some swimsuits and some rescue items. And the team has increased their numbers and they are still on the effort to try and get the remaining 3 that are still trapped in there.
Some of the people have attributed the accident to illegal mining. What has NADMO been saying?
So NADMO are still assessing the situation, but the issue about illegal mining has been connected with how murky the water has been, and that was difficult for the rescue team assessing the river and trying to find the people in there. And so that has been the connection with the illegal activity, illegal mining activities happening close to the area.
And are the people hopeful that the 3 others will be found alive?
Yeah, for the people, they are not backing down at all. They are still increasing their efforts, trying all that they can to try and find the remaining 3. I should say that every morning the traditional authorities try to embark on some ritual activities, invoke some curses invoke some spiritual deities before they get into the river and try find the missing ones.
Just before you go, Prince Appiah, do we know exactly what these 5 were heading to? Was it to the farm or for mining purposes?
So these were farmers who were going to their farms to cultivate their land, and this unfortunate incident happened to them.
Prince Appiah, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much. Prince Appiah is a man on the ground following this issue of drowning on the Offing River. Now, Peter Cardinal Appiah Texan says some Ghanaian leaders are conniving with foreigners to loot the nation's resources without recourse to the implications of the actions. According to him, the country's woes is about leadership and their insatiable desire for wealth at the nation's expense. Speaking at the Archbishop John Kojo Emisa Memorial Lecture at the St. Peter's Regional Seminary, Pedro in Cape Coast, Cardinal Texan says the preoccupation of such leaders is to go every length to acquire wealth through the looting of state funds and engaging in activities that destroy the environment.
Cardinal Texan described as unfortunate the acts that have destroyed the country's rivers, lands, and other things that could have been saved for unborn generations. He says it is greed, selfishness, and the desire of people to feel they have arrived. To him, the country's woes is about leadership and nothing else.
Not recognizing the wisdom of Edididada, Edidiprekupet. You know that proverb? Yeah? Our leaders are Edidiprekupet. Okay, get whatever wealth get at whatever cost, and then you know they leave office or they leave power, and that's what it is. I know that the Chinese or whatever, some are in alliance with political figures and they do whatever type of thing and all of that. It's not only that, they're also in the thing about cutting rosewood, a whole lot of lumbering industry. So I think it's a leadership, huh? It's a question of leadership and having foresight, having the interests of the country, because this is not the first time we're doing gold mining in Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah advised that every mining, whatever, should go under the earth to get the gold and leave the surface for food production. So the threat that you talk about is not only water, it's also food. I grew up in Takwa, in Suta. There's no one place in Ghana where food is as expensive as Takwa and in Suta. Because every food has to be brought in. Because there's so much of what you're saying, and I'm saying whatever type of thing that, you know, whatever. So, it's a question of...
Relatedly, Cardinal Appiah Texan spoke about the power of the vote of the Ghanaian. He says it was time the Ghanaian considered issues when it comes to voting.
And related to that, I am also now talking about the power of your vote. It's time probably at elections to really consider issues. It's time to consider issues, okay, and to look at what we're voting for. As for it's become clear. Normally, technically, the exercise of election is to give somebody a mandate to exercise political power for your benefit and for your good. That's why. So you get somebody with power to exercise that power for the well-being of a group or a community. So people who are voted for are people who have been delegated, who should feel themselves as having been delegated. But because elections is carried on by giving gifts and monies, people, instead of election and mandate, they consider it as having bought that status. So it's no more any responsibility towards anybody for the responsibility already by giving whatever. So when they on their own whatever of delegation, no sense of mandating anything. The moment that they gave people gifts and cloth and whatever type of thing to be voted for, they bought their power, they bought their status. So you can hold them to anything. So we need to change a few things ourselves if we're going to be able to exercise the power of the wallet and the power of our vote.
The Archbishop John Kojemisa Memorial Lecture was part of activities to mark the 90th anniversary of the St. Teresa's Minor Seminary at the Misano in Cape Coast. Richard Kwejenyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Now, Joy News investigations have uncovered how some staff of the Ghana Revenue Authority aid businesses bidding for contract to circumvent laydown procedures in the acquisition of tax clearance certificates. With a paltry sum of 1,500 cedis, officials are able to forge tax records for newly created companies without any evidence of work. Joy News' Kwetinate has more in the following report.
I have received countless information that contractors and business owners fake tax clearance certificates so they can bid for government contracts. So I set out to verify the authenticity of this claim. I began by registering a company called Basket Ports. Barely a week after the company became official, I set out to get a tax clearance certificate, even though my company had no tax record. Before we get into the detail of how I managed to get a forged tax clearance certificate, which could pass off as authentic, the head of Domestic Tax Office, Edward Jamra, explains why a tax clearance certificate is important.
Tax clearance certificate is a compliance tool which is used by the Ghana Revenue Authority to ensure that a taxpayer who owes that has complied with his or her tax obligation.
With the explanation out of the way, I approached a
We sincerely apologize for that break in sound. We'll bring you back the story. You're watching Joy News today. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us here on Joy News today, and we return to our earlier story about Joy News investigations that have uncovered how some staff of the Ghana Revenue Authority and businesses bidding for contracts to circumvent laydown procedures in the acquisition of tax clearance certificate. Here's Kwetinate's report.
I have received countless information that contractors and business owners fake tax clearance certificates so they can bid for government contracts. So I set out to verify the authenticity of this claim. I began by registering a company called Basket Ports. Barely a week after the company became official, I set out to get a tax clearance certificate, even though my company had no tax record. Before we get into the detail of how I managed to get a forged tax clearance certificate, which could pass off as authentic, the head of Domestic Tax Office, Edward Jamra, explains why a tax clearance certificate is important.
Tax clearance certificate is a compliance tool which is used by the Ghana Revenue Authority to ensure that a taxpayer who owes that has complied with his or her tax obligation.
With the explanation out of the way, I approached a Ghana Revenue Authority staff who worked with another tax officer at the Agbogloshi GRA office and was asked to pay a sum of 1,500 cedis. I told them I needed a good turnaround tax record, and they secured a tax clearance certificate covering 3 years. The certificate reads, "Provisionally not liable to tax, deposit 500 cedis. This should help the investigative team to secure a government contract with ease."
A tax certificate that has a good turnaround.
I don't get you said?
They need a tax certificate that has a history that I've done some job. Than a zero tax certificate. Would I have to pay all at once or I can make down payment?
No. Because no number you should be.
And if I pay, how long will it take for me to?
Let time it come.
Then maybe
for
next
now,
week.
I'll send it. The office, I'll send it to them. So
then maybe next week I'll bring the money.
Monday or Tuesday to be ready.
Okay.
It will all depend on you.
The certificate was prepared within 3 days.
Baby, I made a back on. Only certificate. And then I listen my 1,000. Okay. The big
So let's see Tuesday. So Tuesday I would have to come.
Oh, you don't need to come. If it's ready, you can memo it to me.
Okay, no problem.
Head of the Domestic Tax Office, Edward Chamra, says the practice is fraudulent. He explains why.
If it's a new company cannot. So if you have a clearance certificate for a new company, which is indicating that the company has been paying taxes for previous 3 years, it's an indication of a fraudulent tax clearance certificate.
Preliminary investigations by the GRA reveal the tax detail of tax clearance are genuine, but another fact is that they were forged. The head of the Domestic Tax Office says they will investigate further to establish the details of the individuals behind the act.
We will be happy to investigate to find out how this tax clearance certificate was issued to the company. And if it's found out that it was done fraudulently, we will use necessary sanctions to deal with the taxpayer and the tax office or the officer who issued the certificate.
So although I did not qualify for a tax clearance certificate, some GRA staff have helped me circumvent the system and have put me in a good light to bid for a government contract.
And other problem too is that now because we are short of certificates, but some of the offices, they have it. Those who work on that schedule.
It is clear, beating the system in Ghana comes at a price. So what is your price tag? Kwetinatis reports for Joy News.
Now, co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senano, believes the GRA must review its internal monitoring system to prevent such occurrences.
So, does this surprise you at all?
No, it doesn't. I think that we've gotten to a stage where a lot of this is normalized. It seems to have become a subculture. If you see the demeanor of the lady, she probably saw herself as, what do we say, not a knight in shining armor, someone helping a brother out.
Doing a favor.
Doing a favor, exactly. It's not surprising. We seem to have created a new subculture that has normalized these activities. It is only if you have a very strong internal monitoring system that penalizes these kinds of attitudes and actions very strongly, then it would have served as a deterrent. But I'm not really surprised.
All right, you talk about strong monitoring mechanisms. You'd expect that the GRA, the Ghana Revenue Authority, would have something like that in place, knowing that, as you're saying, this is something that's quite common.
Yes, and it's probably something that Kweti or anybody else can try and check, because you see, the only way you're going to stop anyone in a monolithic organization of this size, it's a very huge organization, for not taking advantage of the position they have. I mean, that's the classic definition of corruption, the abuse of entrusted power for personal gain. So you have some power to do something and you take advantage of it, which is what has happened in this instance. The only way to stop that is that you have systems that say we'll penalize you, and not just that, you are seen to penalize frequently, so that it serves as a deterrent. People begin to know that you are not afraid to crack the whip. And so from historical evidence, they know that this might happen to me, and therefore I don't want to attempt going down that road. Without the evidence that has been going on, there's monitoring and there's been sanctions of individuals who've done this, the likelihood is that this kind of activity will continue.
So many people will look at the amount involved. 1,500 cedis was paid to get the tax clearance certificate, and they'll say, so what? The person stole at 1,500 cedis. It's chicken change compared to the corruption cases that we hear. But help us to appreciate the implications of someone paying 1,500 cedis to get a tax clearance certificate they don't deserve.
In the first place, from the individual's perspective, you tend to start with small amounts. It could be, in this case, I think that the report suggests that at least 500 was recorded. So let's say it's 1,000.
Yes.
But, once individuals get comfortable, the next time it will be 2,000. And there might be an exponential growth before you know it. Then that person is involved working with others to deprive the state of much more. So that's one aspect of it. The fact that if you're not holding on to the small drops, you are.
This is Joy News Today with me, Mama Vio Swabwaji. We'll take a breather and return with Business with Darryl Kwao.
Hello, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The National Petroleum Authority has frozen application of the price stabilization and recovery levy on petrol, diesel, and a kilogram of LPG for 2 months. This should mean that for the next 2 months, there will not be the application of the 16 pesos per litre on petrol, 14 pesos on diesel, and 14 pesos on a kilogram of LPG. Here's the full statement to show you this afternoon. It says, the National Petroleum Authority wishes to inform the general public that His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has granted approval to zero the price stabilization and recovery levies on petrol, diesel, and LPG for a period of 2 months. The above approval follows the advice of the NPA to the Minister of Energy to seek government's intervention to mitigate the impact of rising prices of petroleum products on the world market on consumers. It goes on to say that prices of crude oil and refined petroleum products have seen sharp increases on the world market due to a rise in demand of oil globally without a corresponding increase in supply, particularly from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and its allies. Because pricing of petroleum products in Ghana is deregulated, changes in prices of products on the world market have a direct impact on prices at the pumps. It says, the outlook of prices on the global market shows an upward trend, and therefore there was the need to see government's intervention to lower the levies to cushion consumers from feeling the full impact of these rising prices. The purpose of the levy is to stabilize prices for consumers and pay for the subsidies on premix fuel and residual fuel. At this time, it is important that the levy, which is currently 16 pesos a litre on petrol, 14 pesos on diesel, and 14 pesos on a kilogram of LPG, are zero to cushion consumers. It concludes by saying that The MPA will work with the Ministries of Energy and Finance to quicken the legislative processes to give immediate effect to this directive by the President. And there'll be more on this on the marketplace, also getting reaction from consumers to this news today. Now, government has assured the engineering fraternity that it will continue to collaborate with them on matters related to engineering, trade, and sustainable development goals. According to the Minister for Public Enterprises, Joseph Kujo, engineers would continue to play a critical role in the development of the country and the continent as a whole. There is more in the following report.
Speaking on behalf of the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana at the 7th edition of the African Engineering Week that ends today, Mr. Kujo charged engineers to enter into the political space to influence policies and programs.
We have in place a number of initiatives which require the very strong input of engineering practitioners for success. These include the One District, One Factory initiative, which seeks to establish at least one factory in each of the 260 administrative districts of Ghana to create employment and productivity across the country. It is also aimed at stemming the rural-urban migration of the country's youth. The One Village, One Dam initiative also seeks to support agricultural production in rural Ghana, improve the sustainability of agriculture and ensure all year-round farming, and to reduce the reliance on rain-fed agriculture, which output has become very difficult to predict due to the erratic rainfall patterns.
President of the Federation of African Engineering Organizations, Engineer Khalin Bujadi, charged African governments to fund research to aid rapid development of the continent.
Bringing innovations to the market requires a system. It requires a lot more than just somebody inventing something. That's why many of our innovations end up just as prototypes and nothing else. Your education system must be right. Your patenting system must be right. You must have the funding systems ready, and so many other things. And governments especially must be prepared to fund research because it needs very deep pockets, and it's governments that have those deep pockets that are required. We know that our young engineers need guidance when they are in the early stages of their career, and we found that our Young Engineers Forum was a very important venue for helping to develop our engineers, and they received a lot of advice that I'm sure will stand them in good stead for the future.
The theme for the conference is Engineering, Inter-African Trade and the Sustainable Development Goals.
At the top of the hour on the marketplace, do stay tuned.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the sports segment with me, Yoreko Ampo. For Black Stars head coach Milovan Rajevac has told his players they have their destiny in their hands if they want to qualify for the FIFA World Cup in Qatar next year. The senior national team would face Zimbabwe on Tuesday, having beaten them by 3-0 just over the weekend. Milovan believes a win in Harare is a must for the boys. Everything indeed is in our hands. Let's move away from football. And President of the Ghana Olympic Committee, Ben Nunu Mensah, is optimistic the Ghana swim team can win more medals at the African Swimming Championship. The competition commenced this morning at the Bukom International Pool right here in Accra. Senegal and South Africa are favourites in the competition, but Ben Nunu believes Ghana will give them a run for their money.
We have some very good swimmers. Abeku is in town. Abeku came in a couple of days ago, so all the other good swimmers that we have are all here, and I expect that this is their home country. We're definitely going to pick a few medals. It's not just the South Africans who are here, because I saw the team. They have a huge size, huge number of athletes or swimmers here, and I believe they are here with an intention of picking all the medals. But we have a lot of surprise up our sleeves for them, so they should just be on the lookout for our swimmers from Ghana. I mean, it's looking like it's going to be an exciting 1 week of swimming in Accra.
What will be your message to Ghanaians?
Well, as much as we have encouraged Ghanaians to be part of all the sporting activities, this is a very big one. We haven't had an African championship in a long while, and so I want to encourage all the guys and the swimmers in Buko, Choko, Jamestown, and all the likes. Please come to the Trust Emporium from Monday and come and see the best of African swimming.
That's how we wrap up the sports here. We'll be bringing you more news at 2 p.m. when Sports Today comes your way live here on the Joy News channel.
And gone by was world news. Now, it's nearly 2 years since the COVID-19 virus was first found in Wuhan, China. It has gone on to become a pandemic, the biggest and most destructive the world has seen in a century at least. More than 200 million people have been infected the world over, with nearly 5 million dead. Here in Ghana, more than 1,000 people have been affected and over 100,000 with over 100,000 infections. These numbers notwithstanding, there are still doubts by some if this is real at all. Joy News' Justice Bedu went to find out why in a documentary that shows later tonight. Here's excerpts.
It's a serious thing. You can be whoever you are. You see yourself sweating, breathing become an issue on you. You are sweating and struggling with your bed.
Lolo me na me ga ila ko klabe. Lolo me na me ga ila ko ko ibu no small velo ogle ga ga eleba no cover oyin fi ba ke o ila ko klabe. Ila ko klabe. No me ko me nu sisi. Me ko me nu ko sisi.
It's a sickness which normally it affects only the whites, but not the blacks.
More than 100,000 people have been infected by COVID-19. Over 1,000 people have died in a year of unbearable restrictions and lockdowns. Many are still not sure how this pandemic drama is going to end. And yet, many more say everything is still a hoax. In this documentary, I will be finding out why.
Siren at its higher peak is another form of educating and sensitizing the public that what sort of body is AMA carrying, and they are blowing the siren like that. So the moment you turn to the car, you see my people, hey, this is COVID, corona, and they start running away. So they get back, they also tell their people that, hey, the COVID today, I saw the corona people, they call me corona man.
Inage be taflache wa desan hilamo bodani sanabu.
As a human being, you only take medication when you are ill. For example, you take a headache medication when you have a headache. So as I do not have a headache and I'm being asked to take a medication for headache, I won't do it because I am not sick.
There were some videos that came out that we shouldn't take the vaccines. The vaccines kills and it's not good, that the whites want to eradicate the blacks, and some videos that came out, so it puts them off.
And that's our latest Hotline documentary produced by Justice Bedu. It airs fully later today, Monday at 8:30 p.m. And that's how we end Joy News today. Log on to myjoyonline.com for more news. My name is Mama Vio Swabwadi. Thanks for watching.